Scandinavian Bob here, hi. Are you addicted to anything? Well, I know that many of my subscribers are, and today I have some bad and some good news for you. So you might want to concentrate now and stay focused here. So, what do I mean by the title of this video? Should you be grateful for your addiction? Well, first, let's not sugarcoat it here. Struggling with a serious addiction can come with a lot of pain and suffering. So now you might say, why should we even try to be grateful for it? Well, fair question. And look, I'm not saying we should be grateful. We are just going to play around with the thought for a moment here. Because listen, even though we suffer when we are in the midst of an addiction, when the time comes that we start to be able to have control over the addiction, we have actually become pretty damn strong. And I mean this in several ways. I remember a study Gary Wilson shared on one rebooting forum, showing that people who manage to overcome an addiction now have a stronger prefrontal cortex than people who never were addicted in the first place. Now, as you know, the PFC is the part of the brain that is responsible for giving you self-control. And I agree that it may sound a bit strange, but it's kind of logic when thinking about it. Let me ask you this. The people who have had to overcome an addiction, what did they have to do? Well, they had to learn how to say no to temptations again and again and again, literally thousands of times. And each time we do not give in to urges, we are making the prefrontal cortex just a little bit stronger. Each time you do not follow a craving, it is like you are doing a biceps curl for the PFC. If some of you now start thinking, hey, that sounds cool, I'm not addicted yet, so let's make myself addicted to something so I too can get to train my PFC. Don't be stupid, because first, that's way too risky, because many people never manage to get out of an addiction, so that would be too dangerous. And second, there are plenty of other ways you can train your PFC without being addicted, like for example by meditating or building up your self-control. So no, don't get addicted on purpose. However, if you already are addicted, then it can indeed be beneficial to look on the bright side of things and know that once you'll get out of this, you will be stronger, and that positivity might make it easier for you to find the strength to keep going when things are hard. The bad news then? Well, when you are becoming addicted to something, and it does not matter what the addiction is, you get these sensitized pathways in your brain. Now, these pathways are what we could call a super memory of pleasure, and those pathways play a big part in why you keep relapsing. Now, these pathways will become weaker with time, but the bad news is that they will probably always be there in some form in your brain for the rest of your life. But don't freak out now, because they will fall asleep, if we could put it like that. Meaning that once you get control over your addiction, they will not always make you suffer with constant high cravings. However, they can be reactivated, and this is why, for example, sober alcoholics need to stay away from even just having 1 or 2 drinks, because if they do, they could reactivate those sleeping pathways. Some of you may be familiar with my personal PMO addiction story. If not, I can link to a video where I talk about it in the end of this video. But as some of you already know, I struggled with PMO addiction for about 7 years before I finally managed to climb out of that hellhole. Now, if someone were to ask me, okay, Bob, so are you bitter and resentful now because you had to suffer for 7 years? Or when looking back at it now, could you even be happy that you had to go through it? Well, to be honest, I don't know if I can say that I'm happy about it, because I think those 7 years may have made me age faster, since it was such a stressful time. However, I am indeed a bit grateful as well, because I definitely noticed the stronger prefrontal cortex phenomenon now, as I nowadays really have almost a ridiculous amount of self-discipline and self-control. And here's another thing, I have to keep on top of my game. I cannot start skipping my physical exercise because I know that could lead me into a downward spiral, which could end in me relapsing and start using adult sites again. The same goes with alcohol. I can't party like I used to because that makes the PFC weaker, and thus it could make me have a PMO relapse. And this is also why I still keep journaling 2 times a day, because I cannot afford to slip. Now, it may sound, well, a bit sad to have to keep being diligent like this, as it takes a lot of effort and all. But you know what? That is exactly why I really could be grateful for having had the addiction, because it forces me to now be healthy in mind, body and spirit. Whereas if I never had to struggle with this, I might perhaps still keep drinking a bit too much alcohol, eat too much junk food, and just not having the same growth mindset. And yes, in fact, I would actually be a weaker man. So yes, in some strange way, I really have to say I'm kind of grateful for having had to suffer with my PMO addiction. I hope this video gave you some more food for thought, and if you are suffering right now, hey man, I feel your pain, I really do. But just know that things will get better, and once they do, you will be stronger than ever. Something to consider right there. Alright, and as always, if you need my help with rebooting, just click the link under this video where it says coaching, and I'll set you up for a one-on-one call. And if you are interested in hearing the details from my own rebooting, you can see the video where I share my story on the screen right here. Just click on that and it'll take you there. Alright, this is Scandinavian Bob signing out for today, and remember, as Winston Churchill used to say, if you are going through hell, keep going.